Good morning to your friends. You heard Joan talking about, this is one of the best stories that I've heard in a long time, where, and we're going to ask Matthew Hurtt all about this coming up at 6:35 here on Nashville's Morning News. But Kamala Harris shows up in Middle Tennessee, shows up for some sort of a get out the vote event or rally, and Afton Bain, who is also there, leaves 5 minutes before Kamala Harris gets there. And then Kamala Harris does not endorse Afton Bain. And something is going on. I don't know what it is. I don't know if something is about to drop with Afton Bain, but somewhere, somebody within the Democrat Party believed that Kamala Harris should not give an endorsement to Afton Bain. And so I want to know why. Because either they know something is about to drop with Afton Bain, or they know that this is going to be a devastating loss in a seat, 7th Congressional District, that they're trying to flip. And so they don't want that big loss stink on Kamala Harris. I don't know. Or they just forgot. But it doesn't seem... If you've got Afton Bain, who literally left 5 minutes before the former vice president of the United States was going to be there, something happened. Something happened, and I don't know what it was. Maybe Matthew Hurtt knows, but somewhere down the line, Afton Bain actually lost the endorsement of Kamala Harris. That's the only way that I can see it. Can you, Sam or Joan, keep an eye on Kamala Harris's social media to see if she says, oops, with all the fun and excitement, we forgot to endorse Afton Bain. We're going to do that now. But remember, no on-stage photo opportunity between Afton Bain and Kamala Harris as well. That's number one. Number two, don't forget that Jasmine Crockett couldn't be bothered to fly into town for that whole town hall. Oh, I know they blamed the flight issues because of the shutdown and in the air traffic controllers, whatever. But it seems to me like if this was important enough, they would have figured out a way to get Jasmine Crockett to Middle Tennessee for an in-person. But instead, we got the shoe closet. So there you go. So I don't know. Something is up. If somebody, any of my friends within the state legislature know what happened, or if you know the behind-the-scenes palace intrigue as to why it is that Kamala Harris refused here in the middle of early voting for the 7th, refused to endorse the Democrat running. I don't know, man. Inquiring minds want to know. Anyway, Donald Trump. Lots going on. Of course, you have CNN. It is on here in the studio. Can I ask this question? What do you think the Democrats are going to start harping on now that Trump has completely dismantled their, he is trying to protect the pedophiles narrative? Now what are they going to do? Now what are they going to complain about? I love what the president posted yesterday. I don't care when the Senate passes the House bill, whether tonight or at some other time in the near future. I just don't want Republicans to take their eyes off of the victories that we've had, including the great, big, beautiful bill and all those tax cuts. Closed borders, no men in women's sports or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, on it goes. And so the president, of course, ending it with Make America Great Again. He's had several of these kinds of posts. Well, we talked about this, he was asked about all of this yesterday, and he has said once again, I don't know how many different ways Trump can say, release the Epstein files. I don't care, just release them. Just don't take your eye off the ball. So, of victories for the Republicans. And so for President Trump, I mean, this is turning into a win-win because the Democrats are the ones that have been getting money from Jeffrey Epstein for years now. This is the president, what he had to say yesterday.
I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, zero, no money to me, but he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax, and ABC's your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you now, I just got a little.
Yep. So that is President Trump, and he just telling it like he sees it, and he's got that. And I like how he patted his pocket, basically saying, "I've got a list, and I'm not afraid to share it." Well, who's on that list? Bill Clinton received money from Jeffrey Epstein. Hillary Clinton received money from Jeffrey Epstein. Chuck Schumer, John Kerry, Stacey Plaskett. Now, remember, Stacey Plaskett was the one that was getting questions sent to her by Jeffrey Epstein as she was getting ready to question Michael Cohen. And we already knew that the guy was a predator. Yet they were working hand in hand. Stacey Plaskett was working hand in hand with Jeffrey Epstein. Bart Gordon, another one, Tennessee congressman, Democrat, apparently, on that list of people that have gotten money from Jeffrey Epstein way back. That was like in 2006. I will tell you this, that even though he did give mostly to Democrats, he also gave to Republicans like George H.W. Bush and Bob Dole, among just a few others, mostly Democrats, though. So I like what the president is saying. I like what Donald Trump is saying, is that okay, you know what? If you really want to go down this road, Democrats, we can start going down the road. And you know me, I really like when Donald Trump gets aggressive with the Democrats. Because let's be honest, over the past, several weeks or months, the president has been somewhat on defense when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. And so I like that he's going on offense. I like the fact that he's saying, all right, you want to talk about me? That's fine. Let's talk about me. The guy that essentially it sounds like he served as, dropping a dime on Jeffrey Epstein. So I like the fact that Trump is saying, I disconnected from the guy. I thought he was a creeper. Didn't like that he was stealing employees from Mar-a-Lago. And then, of course, all of these other allegations come about, and I wasn't surprised. And what's the first thing Donald Trump did? First thing Donald Trump did was he cooperated with the investigation. And as Donald Trump said, he didn't get any donations from one Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, no, that's all the Democrats. President Trump talking about Epstein.
As far as the Epstein files I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton. Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. Yep. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people.
Yep, that is Donald Trump. So Larry Summers worked for both Clinton and Obama and is now, having to step down from running Harvard because of all of this. Larry Summers apparently was a married guy. Have you seen this part of the story, Joan?
I have.
And
I didn't realize that he was married at the time he was doing this.
Yeah, and he's going back and forth with Jeffrey Epstein asking for advice on his girlfriends. And, I mean, I don't exactly know what it was that Epstein said in return. But, I mean, this was after Larry Summers knew of what he was accused of. So it is just stunning to me that these folks are, they were so close to Jeffrey Epstein, and they're just screaming about Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, when the reality is they themselves have a lot more to do with Epstein than Donald Trump does. And I think the biggest one, to me, one of the biggest factors is Jeffrey Epstein. You know what? He gave to Bill Clinton. He gave to Larry Summers, who is clearly, again, Clinton and Obama advocate, an ally, if you will. He brought up the name Andrew Weissman. I asked you to remind me, who is Andrew Weissman, Sam?
An attorney and professor, was the assistant United States attorney from 1991 to 2002.
So he was obviously a Democrat?
Yeah, I mean,
Trump brought him up
under Barack, so yeah.
Yeah, there you go. The other thing that happened yesterday, and CNN is all over this again this morning because they're really trying to sell this, But the other thing that happened was our own Tim Burchett, Tennessee's own Tim Burchett, he was on with Laura Ingraham, had a lot to say.
I suspected when it all goes out, the Democrats in Congress will have to find another shiny object down the road to...
See what I say? What did I say? Tim Burchett. I said, what are the Democrats going to focus on once Donald Trump signs the order, if you will, to get all of these Epstein files released, order the Department of Justice to release these things. And by the way, everybody's talking about, oh, my goodness, Donald Trump, it was such a big-time 180. He changed his mind very quickly on Epstein. I don't necessarily know that Trump changed his mind on Epstein. He's actually been pretty... His attitude has always been just release them responsibly. That's what he's always said. But by Trump coming out and saying what he said, that gave, just from a pure political standpoint, that gave all of the Republicans that may have had some misgivings for whatever reason permission to say, yeah, absolutely, release the Epstein files or the emails or the documents or whatever the Department of Justice has. But I like what Tim Burchett has to say, which is, all right, so the Democrats, and this is, I understand, we've all been saying the same thing, but Democrats had, Congress and the White House for how long? They had no interest in the Epstein files. And now, all of a sudden, because they think that they can politicize Donald Trump and politicize the Epstein files and try to do political damage to Donald Trump and the Republicans, now suddenly the Democrats care.
Road to kick, and they keep trying to kick Donald Trump, and they haven't been able to do it yet. All they're trying to do, Laura, is to cover up over all the excellent work that President Trump's done. They can't stand that he shut the border down overnight. They can't stand that we're strong militarily. They can't stand that he's ended multiple wars, and their president, they gave him a Nobel Peace Prize basically for a participation trophy.
All right, so obviously Tim Burchett is right. I do love that Donald Trump said basically, folks, we're going to release these files, release them quickly. We need to move on to helping the American people. Very smart. Now, I like Congressman Tim Burchett. He is right when he says that this whole thing is becoming such a huge media story because what the Democrats and the mainstream media, White House press corps, what they're trying to do is distract from all of the negative things that the Democrats have attached their names to. For example, trying to allow illegal alien gang members to stay in our country. Of course, they're taking the brunt of blame for the government shutdown. I could go on and on.
You know, in the past, Schumer could just put out this garbage and filth, and the media would just lap it up like Pavlov's dog. But thank goodness there's folks like yourself, and you've got the podcasters, you got the Benny Show, you got everybody out there who's going after them, is correcting them, and now they've got nowhere to hide. And it's apparent in their reporting by the liberal media, who's even got on them during the bogus shutdown.
I mean, listen, Tim Burchett's not wrong. Now, my favorite part of the story is that with some of these document dumps, what do we find out? We find out that none other than Hakeem Jeffries, that's right, House Minority Leader, the one that has been saying that, Donald Trump and the Republicans are a pedo protection unit, I believe is what he said. Well, it turns out Hakeem Jeffries and other Democrats, including the ones that I just mentioned, Hillary Clinton and some of these other folks, Bill Clinton, who have been getting money from Jeffrey Epstein in the past. Well, it turns out that Hakeem Jeffries was asking Jeffrey Epstein for money as well, at least according to Representative James Comer.
Colleagues' coordination with Epstein. Another email shows Democrat fundraisers invited Epstein to an event or to meet privately with Hakeem Jeffries as part of their 2013 effort to win a majority. So Hakeem Jeffries' campaign solicited money from Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we found in the last document batch.
And by the way, that was apparently after Epstein pleaded guilty for procuring a child for prostitution. These Democrats have no shame.
They love
the files under.
What's that,
I was
Sam?
going to say they love to protect the pedophiles. That's why they're trying to change the sexual identity to minor attracted persons.
Mm-hmm.
The files underscore why former President Trump must appear for his deposition We've subpoenaed him. To date, the Democrats have done nothing to help us secure his appearance. I support full transparency. The Oversight Committee will continue to work to get the truth to the American people and to get justice for the victims. That's our goal of this investigation. With that.
So there you go. Sorry about that. So there you go. That is Representative James Comer, a Republican out of Kentucky. And if he wants to do an investigation into Hakeem Jeffries, all I'm going to say is why not? They said in the email correspondence, they said that Hakeem was the Brooklyn Barack. Is that what they called him? Hakeem Jeffries, a rising star in the Democrat Party. And again, when you look at who it is that Jeffrey Epstein gave to, whole bunch of Democrats and, yes, some Republicans as well. And welcome on in to Matthew Hurtt joining us via Zoom today. Matthew, hope you are doing well. And, man, so much to talk about. Number one, and by the way, if you're watching on Super Talk TV, you can see Matthew Hurtt, from what I understand, rocking a mustache. I don't know if you've been hearing, but in the yesterday, I guess it was yesterday afternoon or last night, whenever it was, Kamala Harris comes into Tennessee. She's on her book tour, and literally, she and Afton Bain, their paths cross, but they didn't actually meet on stage, and Kamala Harris didn't give her an endorsement, and Afton Bain left 5 minutes before Kamala Harris shows up. So, Matthew, I got to ask this question. What do you think is going on? Why is Afton Bain not getting the endorsement of Kamala Harris?
Dan, these events are highly scripted. I heard you talk about this in the last segment, and it is incredibly unlikely that Kamala Harris and Afton Bain did not have a conversation. I've watched this race. I've watched this race in Tennessee 7. I know that the Cook Political Report has shifted it from definitely Republican to leans Republican. I don't think there's anything going on that will surprise voters in December when voters go to the polls. But this is definitely some political maneuvering on the back end. Perhaps Kamala Harris not wanting to take credit for a loss in December heading into the midterm.
See, that's what I said. I said that a couple of things. Number one is that, yeah, we believe, and I'm hoping that it's going to be a blowout, but maybe Kamala Harris didn't want that Afton Bain loss stink on her. But what does that tell you about the chances of Afton Bain? If she is so far behind, then now we've got. I'm hearing myself in my headphones. Now what we've got is Kamala Harris. She couldn't even help Afton Bain.
Well, the important thing to note is, again, the momentum has to be, for the Democrats, the momentum has to be on their side to make the case to voters in 2026. We saw just a few weeks ago in New York, New Jersey, and Virginia, Democrat momentum and enthusiasm were high. More Democrats turned out in Virginia than they did in 2021, fewer Republicans. So this race in Tennessee 7 doesn't fit or will not fit the narrative. Now, that is not to say your listeners should stay home. Conservatives and Republicans have to go out and vote in this election. Elections don't just happen without voters in most places, and it is so important. So you can't be complacent. And in fact, this is an important race to run up the numbers. If Donald Trump won this district by 10 or 15 points, then the Republican needs to win by 15 or 20 points. Again, that would squelch the narrative from New York, New Jersey, and Virginia from a few weeks ago.
Matthew, is it possible there might be something, sort of bubbling under the surface here in Tennessee where maybe it didn't necessarily have anything to do with the possibly election results, but maybe there's something about to drop about Afton Bain. And they were like, you know what, we're hearing what's going on, and we don't want, that stink on Kamala Harris. Could it be something like that as well?
Anything could happen. I don't know Afton Bain as a candidate as well as I'm certain your listeners do and the voters do as these issues have played out in the media. But it is certainly, there are a number of reasons why a top-tier endorser, somebody like Kamala Harris, would not come out in support and might even change last minute. And so, in Virginia, we had the J. Jones text messages, which were scandalous. I don't know if it's anything like that, but it certainly raises eyebrows. Why won't the Democrats send in the cavalry to back this candidate in this race? And it's clearly from the onset, it's just clearly that this is such a strong Republican district. That said, Democrat enthusiasm is high, and Republicans have to go out and vote.
All right, let's move on. We've got President Trump and the visit from Mohammed bin Salman, and of course, very controversial. People bringing up, of course, the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. I have not yet done a deep dive into Jamal Khashoggi, but talk a little bit about just this trip. I think that one of the things that President Trump is doing is I think that he is trying to bring in investment into America. And so if some other things have to take a backseat, well, then so be it.
One of the important things that a president can do when he or she meets with important world leaders is have tough conversations. Those conversations don't always make it into the headlines. What you'll get from an Oval Office meeting is what they call a readout, and that's where the press operation in the White House just tells you what they talked about. I would say if President Trump is meeting with any world leaders, he has an infinite number of things that he can discuss, that they can discuss. It's important to generate investment in the United States, but it's also important to have those tough one-to-one conversations. I think this is something where that New York brash attitude that President Trump has is very helpful and could allow him to say things behind the scenes that he either wouldn't be able to say in front of the cameras or that reporters like the ones you showcased in the last segment wouldn't be able to report fairly because Orange Man is bad.
Yeah, one of the things is we talk about where President Trump is going. You and I have spoken about it quite a bit, obviously, and that is this concept of affordability. And I have noticed a pivot. I'm going to ask you the question, then I got to jump to traffic, then we'll come back and answer the question. But it seems to me like Trump is pivoting from the world stage, and I'm putting that in air quotes, from the world stage back to the American stage where he's talking about affordability and really trying to highlight the wins. Matthew Hurtt is joining us. All right, Matthew, so real quick, we were talking earlier just before the traffic report about, the politics of what is going on right now with affordability. And I have noticed just since Marjorie Taylor Greene may have, really pushed the envelope, I've noticed that President Trump is focusing more these days on affordability and the economy and wins.
Dan, this is a great point. This is something that President Trump is pretty good about, listening to the base. We've seen this where if issues bubble up enough, his team, his social media team, the people that he surrounds himself with are highly attuned to the people who supported and got Donald Trump across the finish line in the last election. And I think this is a signal. Somebody like a Marjorie Taylor Greene, who even though he called her Marjorie Trader Greene, last week, I think that was, again, that's his style. Yep. I do think that he's hearing enough about it that it is causing a change. And as you and I talked about the last time I called into the show, this is something important. He's listening. All he has to say, and obviously the policies come with it, but what he has to say is, I hear what you're saying. I understand the plight of people trying to make the mortgage and trying to buy groceries, and we are working on it. And there are a number of things the president can do. There's even more things a Republican president can do with the Republican House and Senate that would show that he's engaged in affordability. That was one of the huge issues in Virginia in the last election. Democrats ran on affordability, and they are implementing a wave, or they will implement a wave of unaffordable policies early next year. So that's the contrast. A president who is listening, who's paying attention, and who's enacting conservative policies accordingly, versus Democrats who don't want to make things affordable and will in fact push radical policies to make it highly unaffordable.
One of the things that really has blown up since last week, the last time I had you on, was sort of this splinter. You've got Trump leading MAGA versus what is being called and led by Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, and others as America First. So you've got MAGA and America First. And I just came out with just a little list, right? So if you are America First, you are not all in on Israel. You want the release of the Epstein files, of course. America First, no 600,000 Chinese students coming in, and no need to import talent. If you're MAGA, Donald Trump, you are more pro-Israel. A little more mixed on Epstein and the whole thing. I think most people want the Epstein files, obviously, released, but released responsibly. And Trump wants the 600,000 Chinese students, and he wants the importing of talent, right? So there does seem to be some very distinct differences between MAGA and America First.
Dan, and this is something that you and I have talked about for months on end about this. There is, when President Trump was first elected in 2016, he ran on this Make America Great Again platform, and there wasn't a lot of depth to it. If I'm being completely honest, I'm going to blow up your super text line with that. There wasn't a lot of depth to it, but as he's in his second non-sequential term, so there's been 10 years almost since Donald Trump first won the election. We're figuring this out. And so places like the Heritage Foundation, America First Policy Institute, Cato Institute, and other think tanks that sort of engage around these policies or building out policies. And there is a difference. This is something that I say to people all the time. The Republican Party is the only party that supports and actually encourages a broad range of right-of-center viewpoints so that you can even have a difference between Make America Great Again and America First. I'm a small L libertarian. I got involved in politics in the Ron Paul movement. I am skeptical of foreign aid to Israel or Ukraine or any country. And once you get to D.C., though, elected officials tend to change their tune on foreign assistance and foreign aid. So we're seeing that schism. But I do think that, again, the Republican Party is the only vehicle in American politics that allows for that broad range of discourse and debate.
You know, one of the things, and somebody asked me this question, I'll go ahead and give you the softball, the layup here. Which party is a bigger train wreck right now, the Democrats or the Republicans? Obviously, it's the Democrats.
Yeah, I think that's the answer I would give you. Republicans, again, I think it took some maneuvering on the Epstein files through Congress. I think Thomas Massie deserves a huge round of applause for his work. I think people like Nancy Mace and others really pushed that issue, and I think it is okay to have that conversation. I think what we're going to find out in the Epstein files is this disproportionately impacted Democrats. You mentioned in the last segment, Dan, from California, Bart Gordon, who was chairman of the Science Committee back when I was growing up in Murfreesboro. So when Democrats held the House in the early 2000s, he was a very important member of the House of Representatives for the Democrats. He was like third or fourth in line behind the Nancy Pelosi of that day. And so these individuals who are disproportionately impacted by support for Jeffrey Epstein are going to be Democrats. It's okay to release those files.
Real quick, last one. Yesterday, Donald Trump and Elon Musk had a bit of a moment there where Trump gave him kind of like a playful little tap. Is the dynamic duo back together?
Well, we saw them a couple of months ago interact at an event. I know I talked about it on the show with you. I definitely think, again, of the two vehicles, the two political vehicles through which people can act in the United States, the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, the Republican Party is one that is going to be most attractive to Elon Musk in the political reality we exist in. Donald Trump is the president in that party. He's the leader of that party. And Elon Musk wants to advance a lot of the policies that go along in that party, and I think he'll continue his support for Republicans and Republican candidates. It's good news to see him back in the White House.
So I'm trying to figure out, is your mustache a porn stash or a cop stash?
Whoa. Well, weird that you asked that, Dan. Last Tuesday on Veterans Day, I know I came on the show on Veterans Day. I went out with a buddy of mine who is a veteran. He served in the U.S. Navy. And as I was leaving the bar, someone thanked me for my service. I get a lot of people who think I'm a CIA or FBI up
yes.
here. It's a tight haircut, and I got lazy last week and didn't shave it. So we're going to see how it goes all the way through Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Total cop stash.
Is that a cop stash?
Oh, totally.
Okay, just so folks know, if you're watching us on YouTube, Talk TV, whatever the heck it is, Matthew is debuting his new mustache.
Keep it, Matthew.
Yeah, this is the world debut on video of this, whatever this is on my face.
All right, Matthew, always great to have you on, and we'll talk to you again soon. Matthew Hurtt there on WTN. So you're calling that a cop stash?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
See, that the tight, like he said, the tight haircut, the mustache, he does look very...
So I did a mustache for a very short period of time.
Oh, you did?
I sure did.
Yeah, and did you rock it?
Amy liked it, and she was like the only one.
Oh.
So, and I just decided, you know what, I just look too weird.
She's the only one that matters when it comes to that, though.
Yeah, but, with Amy, of course, you know that I can't do any wrong with my...
Oh, right.
Oh, never.
Sure,
She
Dan.
loves me no matter what I look like. That's her story, and she's sticking to it. So there you go. Let's see here. But most people seem to like Matthew Hurtt's mustache, actually. So a lot of thumbs up with Matthew's mustache. That's good if you want to check it out. If you're driving in the car and you're yelling at the radio, check us out on YouTube. Find us on YouTube. Find us on X, 997WTN.com, Facebook, and all the other social medias. You can stream us. You can watch us, whatever. It is 6:53 on Super Talk. And let's see here. 0198. Dan, is your haircut Mr. Clean or Kojak? Whatever. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's not little old man. Definitely not that.
No, it's not little old man.
It'd be the ring around the side of the head.
Anyway, it is 6:54, and Joan, what's coming up?
It's being called a big deal what President Trump bestowed on Saudi Arabia last night at the White House black tie dinner. Also, the Boring Company has just moved in some big new equipment for the tunnel. We'll tell you about it coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Now, I keep asking Joan about all the big tunnel and all that, the tunnel equipment and all that.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for, Afton Bain to have her Tiananmen Square moment and just get right in front of Elon Musk's big equipment and just be like, nope, not letting you in. Millionaires and billionaires and all that kind of stuff.
Wouldn't that be something?
It would be. It'd actually be pretty funny. So, listen, she would get a lot of publicity.
Well, part of what they've got down there now is a conveyor belt, so they could just put her on the conveyor belt and conveyor right out the parking lot.
I would pay to see that.